Good evening, I'm Jose Cardenas. Tonight we'll get to know a graduating doctoral student from ASU and how her academic work has helped to bring Hispanic communities together, and learn about a workshop designed to provide people with the skills and resources to respond to the needs of undocumented students at ASU. All this coming up next time, Horizonte.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.
Thank you for joining us. Vanessa Fonseca is graduating next week from Arizona State University with a doctorate in Spanish from the ASU School of International Letters and Cultures. Her academic work at the university often focused on engaging the Hispanic community. Join me as we get to know Vanessa Fonseca. Vanessa, welcome to Horizonte and congratulations on getting your doctorate.
Thank you.
Give us just a quick thumbnail sketch of your dissertation, and then I want to get some background, and then we'll talk more specifically about the work that you've done.
Okay, great. The dissertation actually expands 400 years of literary history in the Southwest. So what I tried to do was work through the Spanish colonial period, the Anglo-American colonial period, and the post-colonial period to look at the different negotiation strategies between colonial relationships. So during the Spanish colonial period, we'll look at it as more of a binary between colonizer and colonized, and look at how that becomes more complicated as we add different layers of colonization over 400 years of literary history.
And I have a lot of questions about the specifics of that and what it means, but before we do that, your background, you're born and raised in New Mexico.
Yes.
And your family roots go back admission of New Mexico to the United States.
Yes, I'm from the Chavez family, and we're from northwestern New Mexico, so from the Gallup, Grant, Zuni area. And they actually arrived with Oñate in 1598, were kicked out during the Pueblo revolts, and then came back to New Mexico later on. And there are actually two different lines of Chavez families, one who went to the northwest and then one who went further north up in New Mexico.
Now, how does that history, both personal and growing up in New Mexico, how did that affect your choice of the topic for your dissertation?
Well, it was a topic that was always interesting to me. My grandmother's first cousin is a genealogist from New Mexico, and so she has spent a lot of her life's work tracing our family's lineage. She's written a couple of books and contributed numerous articles to New Mexico literary journals about the founding families of New Mexico and her Chavez family in particular. Her book was really a catalyst for a lot of the information that I included in the dissertation, mostly because as I began to really look at the Chavez family history, there are a lot of different voices that come into play. I looked at the library at the University of New Mexico, and they have a lot of different competing histories about the Chavez family and about the area of Atarque where my grandparents were from. And so that was sort of my personal interest. Also, the areas that I lived in New Mexico were very conflictive in terms of the relationships between Hispanics and Native Americans in those areas. So I grew up in Grants, which is about 70 miles west of Albuquerque, which is very close to Acoma Pueblo. And the primary text that I used for the dissertation, the first text that I used was Historia de la Nuevo Mexico, and it deals specifically with those conflicted relationships between Acoma and the Hispanics in that area.
And let's talk about that Spanish colonial period. We're talking about 300 years from the conquest of Mexico to the War of Independence, or the conclusion of the Wars of Independence in 1821. Two pieces of work you mentioned, one of them, and the other one was Los Comanches. The significance of those and how they fit in with the work that you're doing on imperialist ideology.
Well, Historia de la Nuevo Mexico is really interesting because it talks about, it provides really the foundation for these contemporary ideas that New Mexico is so attached to that Spanish colonial legacy with Don Juan de Oñate. You have a number of statues in the Southwest that are there to honor this figure. And one of the latest statues was put up in El Paso, Texas, in right near the airport, and it's the largest equestrian statue in the world. And they did a film about it in 2008 called El Las Conquistador, which talks about sort of these ideas that are related to Spanish colonial legacies in a contemporary context, and how the Acoma Indians were reacting to the idea of this giant statue being put up to celebrate who was perceived to be a murderer by the Acoma Indians. And so those things are very important because we talk about New Mexico as being this tricultural, harmonious state between Anglo-Americans, Native Americans, and descendants of the Spanish colonial period or the Hispanics in New Mexico. And you see in literary production that that's not always the case, especially when you put up, you know, statues like this that are glorifying one history over another. It really creates this conflict between these different groups.
And the Anglo-American colonial period, or what you call the Anglo-American colonial period, dates from the conclusion of the U.S.-Mexico War to 1965, the Niña Chicana movement. Why that time period, and what was the focus of your research for that time period?
Well, we can see in history, even before 1965, that the minority groups in the Southwest, specifically the Mexican Americans, were already starting to resist these dominant forms of power with the Anglo-American occupations, and trying to create a presence and trying to enforce that idea of speaking Spanish and maintaining cultural and maintaining traditions within a literary sphere and a political sphere. New Mexicans had a very big political presence in their state, which is not the same case in California or Texas during that same time period. And so it's really interesting to kind of look at those forms of resistance, and that all culminates with the civil rights movement in general, and then in more particular cases, the Chicano movement.
And your analysis is based on literature, and so what are the pieces that you looked at for this time period?
For this time period, I looked at one text that is Escuadra in the Dawn. It was written in 1885 by Maria Amparo Riza Burton from California, and so it deals with her reactions to the Mexican-American War during the later part of the 19th century. And then I chose The Dew on the Thorn, or Dew on the Thorn, by Jovita Gonzalez, and she's from South Texas, and this was written in the 1940s. So it's kind of a later account of her family's reaction to the Mexican-American War.
And then I want to talk about the last period, which is 1965 to the present, and then talk about the differences and similarities between the three periods and the literature that you studied. So the current, or what do you call it, the current colonial period, post-colonial period?
Post-colonial period. So that stems from 1965 and the idea that the Chicanos really wanted to assert this resistance to dominant forms of economic forms of oppression, cultural forms of oppression, linguistic forms of oppression. So they were really asserting themselves as a different type of people and creating themselves in what I call this third space hybridity, which is a concept introduced by Homi Bhabha in literary criticism, and the idea that we are the inheritors of many different colonial legacies, and we are attached as much to a colonizing legacy as a colonized legacy. And so within this third space hybridity, Chicanos form this sort of resistance to people giving them an identity, and they create an identity instead within this space. So the text that I chose for the post-colonial period was Los Muertos También Cuentan by Miguel Méndez. And in this text, he talks about three different protagonists, one from the Spanish colonial period, one from the Anglo-American colonial period, and one Chilango fronterizo, who witnesses...
Chilango referring to people from Mexico City.
Los de DF. And so the interesting thing about his text is he recuperates these histories from three different colonial periods, and they come together to talk about the colonial legacies of the 500th anniversary of the discovery of the Americas by Cristobal Colon. So the idea that the Spanish legacy really isn't all it's cracked up to be. So he kind of breaks down these conceptions of Spanish colonial legacies as being something romantic and heroic, and he looks at the contemporary period, which in this case is 1995, which is the 500th anniversary. He's writing this 3 years after the 500th anniversary, and these muertos que están contando are asking a writer to tell their story and to tell the readers in specific about what this Spanish colonial legacy means in a contemporary context.
And speaking of meaning in a contemporary context, what does your work mean to your contemporaries?
I think that my work is really important in the sense that this is the first work that's been done from a literary aspect. We talked about Manuel Gonzalez's book about the history of Mexican Americans. We talked about Matt Meyer and Feliciano Rivera's periodization of Mexican American history, Ruda Cunha's book, Occupied America. All these are really fundamental texts from social sciences, from history, from political standpoint, but this is the first project that has looked at it from a literary standpoint.
Now, you mentioned Acuña's book, Occupied America. That's been the subject of some controversy in Arizona. It's one of the texts that was used in the ethnic studies programs in Tucson that were eliminated.
Yes.
So what is your research and your writing, what relevance do they have in that context?
Well, what we're doing right now, there's a project that we're engaged in. It's called Hispanidades, and it's a project that we started about 2 years ago.
We have some video of that, by the way, which will roll while we're talking.
Oh, absolutely. So this project was started 2 years ago as a joint effort between Columbia University and Arizona State. And what we wanted to do was link different Hispanic identities throughout the U.S. to talk about commonalities and differences. Because when
So we just showed a line going from New York to Tucson.
Oh yeah, yeah. So this is one student. His name was Gary Thompson, and he was particularly interested in artistic representation in South Tucson. He is actually from Guatemala, but his father lived in South Tucson, and so this topic was really interesting for him to kind of look at the different ways that art tells us stories about history, it tells us stories about religion, it tells us stories about conquest. And so all these are really interesting topics that we cover within the Hispanidades project.
And related directly to the work that you were doing for your dissertation?
Related directly to this. So because I engage in Chicano literature, what we did for the course was come up with a different set of topics to introduce to the students. So we talk about Historia de los Hispanos en los Estados Unidos, we talk about immigration, we talk about Spanish, we talk about artistic expression, and students can feel free to grab any one of these topics and do this sort of ethnographic research in Hispanic barrios in Arizona.
And this has been done in conjunction with Columbia and
Columbia.
Spreading to other universities?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this semester they're working with Columbia University and also with the University of Washington. So the idea wasn't to pair up Arizona with New Mexico or Arizona with Southern California. We really wanted to branch out and look at what it's like to be Hispanic in different localities throughout the U.S. And the ethnic studies band was particularly interesting to me this past year because I've been doing sort of a spin-off of the Hispanidades project with the North Tempe Boys and Girls Club. And a lot of it was in response to this ethnic studies ban and the idea that we can't teach those sort of histories in K through 12 schools. So what I wanted to do was create a space where we could learn about that, and these teens that participated in the project were really interested in doing that. We got great support from the ASU community and also from the local Tempe community, because what this club is doing in particular is looking at what it's like to be Hispanic in Tempe.
Vanessa, thank you for joining us on Horizonte to talk about your work, and I understand you're off to the University of Wyoming for teaching assignment there.
Yep.
Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
ASU offers a new initiative called Dream Zone, a certification training designed to establish a support network for undocumented students at Arizona State University. We'll talk to one of the Dream Zone facilitators in a moment, but first, we wanted to show you a trailer of a documentary called The Dream Is Now, featuring 2 ASU alumni and putting a face on undocumented children of immigrants who want to earn their citizenship. There was a screening this week at ASU in Tempe.
It's bigger than a website, deeper than a documentary, more powerful than a petition. It's a story about people.
Instead of calling them illegals, let's call them occupiers or trespassers or invaders or squatters.
Same day that I graduated, I checked my mail and I had gotten a full scholarship. I get a call from the admissions office. We're really sorry, but you can't get your scholarships anymore.
I have a degree, I have all this. What am I doing? You can dream all you want, but you're still here.
The DREAM Act is legislation that says if you came to the U.S. as a child, we will give you a chance to be legal in America.
Growing up, I always said I want to be in the military.
He's the kind of guy that our military needs.
We would always say, imagine what it would feel like to be told, congratulations.
This is my summa cum laude medal. I could be deported in the spring. Am I going to be able to finish the semester?
You know, it's real.
My mother and my brother were just thinking about immigration.
I can't get a driver's license. I can't have a state ID. I qualify for everything. I just can't fill in that space for Social Security.
I want to graduate. I want to go to college. I want to be a doctor.
We, the people, said, I believe the phrase was, no way, Jose.
If they're not going to listen to us, we're going to go to them.
That's how life is. Just gotta keep fighting.
This really is the future of our country.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a man.
This is more than a movie. It's a movement. Upload your photograph. Put a human face to the petition. The time is right. The choice is real. The dream is now.
Joining me now is Davier Rodriguez, one of the Dream Zone coordinators. Davier, welcome to Horizonte.
Thank you so much.
The trailer we just saw, the movie itself was directed by a very prominent, very famous documentarian. Tell us about it.
Well, it's Academy Award winner Davis Guggenheim, who also did An Inconvenient Truth and Waiting for Superman. And the film just highlights and puts a face to issues surrounding dreamers and children of undocumented immigrants.
It's a 4-hour-long movie. But it highlights 2 ASU alums. Tell us about them and their stories.
Yes, so these are 2 students who graduated from ASU and experienced a series of issues, and it narrates their stories and kind of the impact that being undocumented had leading up to coming to ASU, as well as during the process of being at ASU, and their experience, including their family and the struggles that they had with their family.
Now, are the experiences that they went through in college and in terms of dealing with their status part of what inspired the creation of Dream Zone?
Yes, I mean, it's the stories like Erica's and Jose's that really inspire ASU faculty, staff, and students to make a difference on campus.
And explain what Dream Zone is.
Yeah, so Dream Zone is a 4-hour certification allied development program that seeks to create visible support structures on campus at ASU. And we equip faculty, staff, students, and administrators with the resources and tools they need to support students persist through and go through graduation.
Now, was there something in particular that made you think there was a need for this kind of training?
Yes, so given the lack of support that we have at ASU, I mean, there has been some support, but as of April of last year, we formed the Dreamer Research Initiative to look at how do we more strategically help our students graduate, and so that was certainly the inspiration. In particular, an event that happened last April, where we brought dreamers and prominent figures from California.
And as I understand, there's basically 4 components to the training. Tell us about those.
Yeah, so we talk about the first component is...
and we've got some pictures on the screen. Are these participants in the program?
Yes, it's actually the first group of Dream Zone allies that were certified. And so... the 4 components, we started talking about the conceptions and preconceptions and misconceptions that are formed. So how do we get our information about who dreamers are and their experiences? And then we go into talking about the different climates, including legislation, so federal, state, and local policies, as well as the home environment, which shapes the undocumented student experience. Then we actually bring a panel of undocumented students to share with participants their perspectives and their stories, to put a face and a first-person perspective on what it means to be a dreamer. And then we conclude with the Becoming an Ally portion, where we talk about best practices, as well as we share resources and tools on how to support undocumented students.
Now, I can understand why the second component, which discusses legislation and other legalities, might be informative and useful for the people participating. The first one, though, where you talk about who the dreamers are, you have, I assume, largely a receptive audience in these classes. Do you really find that you're imparting something to these people, staff and faculty, perhaps, that they didn't already know?
Yes, a lot of our participants, they come with some level of knowledge. I mean, there's a spectrum, right? There's people that come with pretty much no knowledge, and people that come highly informed already. But all walk out understanding better who are undocumented students, the complexities behind them. So it's not just students that whose parents came illegally. I mean, we have international students that fell out of status. We have people that came legally and then through a series of events became undocumented.
So even people who are sympathetic to the situation have some stereotypes that don't apply necessarily to all of the students.
Yeah, may have stereotypes or just a lack of knowledge. And so they walk out understanding who dreamers are, but they also walk out understanding the context that shapes dreamers, including legislation and policies.
And what do they learn in terms of how they can be of further help to dreamers?
Yeah, so they understand when they walk out they understand who on campus is also an ally, and so they can reach out. So if someone from housing, for example, needs to reach out to an academic advisor, they're able to understand how that process of referral works. They also understand what are the different financial and academic support systems that are available to them, so they can refer students to apply for particular scholarships. And then I think at the foundation is they understand how to be empathetic and how to respond just in their body language and in their conversations, to be sensitive.
And one of the ways that you communicate this information to the people who want to share it with others is through your website, right?
Yes, our website is pretty comprehensive. We offer different resources, and we also offer a database where every single ally that goes to the certification program is entered in that database, and so it builds an ASU ally network.
So if somebody who's a dreamer wants to know who can I talk to and feel comfortable talking about it, they can go to the website.
Yep, they go to the website and they look at the database.
And what is the web address?
So the web address is sts.asu.edu/DreamZone.
And STS stands for?
It's the School of Transborder Studies. They're the ones that host the website.
And so while you get support from the School of Transborder Studies, this is not an academic project?
It's not an academic project. It's a comprehensive project through the Dreamer Research Initiative. And this initiative, it's a committee comprised of faculty, staff, students, and community partners that come together and provide support.
Now this effort, DreamZone, you're one of the two founders, coordinators?
Yeah.
Recently received some recognition from President Clinton. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we had the honor and the opportunity to go to the Clinton Global Initiative University. We entered DreamZone as a commitment or a solution. And so about 800 solutions are selected every year. And DreamZone was selected as one of the final 16 to compete in this March Madness basketball-like competition called the Bracket Challenge. And so voters were able to go online and vote for their favorite project, and it went through 4 rounds, kind of like March Madness, so 16, 8, 4, and then 2, and then the final winner. And so I was representing DreamZone at the conference, but basically DreamZone was able to be on stage with Clinton.
Because you won.
And Colbert. Yeah, because we won.
You got to the Final Four, and you came home with the trophy. So
yeah, and the trophy was symbolically was a basketball signed by Stephen Colbert and President Clinton.
So how many people have gone through the program so far?
Well, we've had over 300 people sign up for the program, and so some are unable to make it and then go to later sessions and stuff, but we've had to date over 250 allies certified.
Now, recently, in the last few weeks, immigration legislation has been introduced. There's a lot of discussion. There have been a lot of forums and so forth. Has that increased the volume of business for you?
I think that, yeah, the short answer is yes. I think, and a larger answer, it's all collaborative efforts. So I think that DreamZone has helped to steer conversations and excitement as other things that have happened nationally. And so I think that there is, in short, there is an interest in wanting to learn more. And DreamZone is that space at ASU to learn more about immigration and, more importantly, about how do we help our undocumented students succeed on campus.
Is there any concern that people will look at the legislation? You've got bipartisan support, at least in the Senate. President Obama this week has said that he's fairly confident that despite other dysfunctionalities in Congress, that this will pass. Is there any concern that people will have less interest in helping the Dreamers, thinking, well, it's going to get taken care of, so there's no need for me to get involved?
Yeah, that's a great point. I don't think so because it's not, legislation doesn't pass and then everything's good to go. There's the implementation piece of policies, and I think that's where, if anything, it increases excitement because we've had this policy, so what does this mean now locally? The other aspect that's important to consider is that not everyone that's undocumented student is a dreamer, and so we have to be understanding that while our dreamers may or may not be on a path to citizenship, or may not have work permits, or their status may change, we still have groups of people who will be in our university who are still having immigration issues, and we have to adopt our program to continue to help these populations navigate the university.
We're almost out of time, David. Just one last thing. On the current proposals, any comments, any general reaction to what's been proposed as regards Dreamers?
You're talking about the proposal, yeah.
Immigration legislation.
Well, I think I like the fact that it's focused on work and kind of the economic impact that our undocumented populations have, and so I think that Dreamers stand very much at a critical piece because they're the ones that are going to have the degrees and they're the ones that are going to be able to advance.
So overall,
careers.
Favorable.
I think it's favorable.
Very
yeah.
good. Well, thank you for joining us on Horizonte to talk
Thank
about
you so
it.
much.
And good luck with
Appreciate
your
it.
efforts.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight. From all of us here at Horizonte, I'm Jose Cardenas. Have a good evening.
Funding for Horizonte is made possible by contributions by the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station.